I'd like you to imagine your dream life. See the version of you who has what you want to have, feels how you want to feel, and is who you want to be. I'm Brittany Hoopes, your hypnotherapist and manifestation coach, and this is the show where I'll teach you to master the full power of your mind, to guide you on your journey towards destination manifestation.
Take a step back for the ones who can't do that. Hope I separate from my past.
This is Destination Manifestation, a podcast about using the power of your mind to manifest your dream life with stories, lessons, exercises, guided visualizations. Well, we haven't done those in a while, but I'll do some more of those soon. And lots of conversations, which we do nearly every week. They are all designed to help you align with your goals. And it's hosted by me, Brittany Hoopes. Hi, y'all. How are you doing? Let me just say this. If you're already subscribed to the show, we're BFFs. I appreciate you. I think about y'all all the time. I appreciate you showing up and believing in your dreams. I'm sure your dreams appreciate you too. And today, I'm going to do something that I've really never done before. I feel like I say that every single episode, but I try to keep it fresh here, right? We try to keep it new. I feel like I'm in my influencer era, okay? That's what this episode is going to be like. And I don't think there's many influencers that are like manifestation influencers, so I hope this is helpful. I'm sharing the 6 must-have products that I most highly recommend to people who have tried to make positive changes in their lives, right? They've tried it before, but it just seems like nothing works, okay? I hear this again and again and again. You guys blow up my Instagram DMs with this conundrum, right? Brittany, I've tried everything. What do I do now? And these are the resources that I usually will point you towards. So now I can point you towards this episode when you ask. I know how frustrating that can be. You have this big old desire on your heart. You have something you want to do, someone you want to be, right? You have a vision for your life, and it just seems like nothing that you're doing is shifting or changing things. So you're expending all this energy and effort and time and sometimes even money and nada. Nothing, zilch. It can be very disheartening. But that doesn't mean that positive change isn't possible for you or your life, okay? It just means that you haven't found the right tools yet. And I highlight yet because you're listening to this episode here now, okay? So oftentimes when I see this particular situation with a client, that shows me that they're caught in patterns of thinking and feeling. Okay, it's almost like they're caught up in a cyclone and we got to rip them out of that cyclone so that they can experience something different. Meaning that when that person thinks the same thoughts that they thought the day before and they feel those same memorized emotions that they felt again and again and again throughout their past, they might have felt those same emotions for years, ever since childhood even. You know what happens when you think the same thoughts and you feel the same emotions? You end up taking the same actions. And of course, when you take the same actions, you end up getting the same results. And so then they're caught in this loop, this cycle, this spiral even. And sometimes it's going to require some outside intervention to shake things up enough so that you can slow down that merry-go-round you've been caught up in. So that you can stop repeating and essentially recreating your past. Because that's what's happening. When you can't make change and when you're stuck in a cycle, you're recreating your past. You're not creating anything new. For this, I have hand selected the top 6 products with this problem in mind. The products that I recommend to my clients most often, as well as some of the things that have helped me most in the past when I was in your shoes. Because trust me, I remember what that was like. I was caught in a major, what do they call it? Quicksand of no positive change for many, many years. And I say the universe blessed me with that time because if I hadn't experienced that time, I wouldn't be in such a position to be able to help you with it, right? I know what it feels like when no matter what I did, it just seemed like nothing worked. It was definitely when I was starting my business years ago. Okay. I've shared this on the show before. I started so many different businesses throughout my 20s that just seemed to fizzle out. Okay. I was a website designer. I was a jewelry maker. I was a graphic designer. And then I wanted to be a professional letterer because like two people make a living just doing letters. I don't know. I was a blogger. I was a drop shipper for like a week. Okay. Like you name it, especially if it had anything to do with the online space, I had tried it and just nothing stuck. Like nothing stuck except for my intense desire to be an entrepreneur. Like that was the only thing that was like always steadfast in there. Everything else, it just is like, how many more costumes of business owner do I have to try on before I find out who I am? But along the way, I kept studying manifestation. That was always something, a passion of mine, just to study and to try to live, although unsuccessfully for many years until I figured it out, right? Because I knew I was meant to run my own business. I hated being an employee, okay? And I was bad at it too. I was not a very good employee. I don't do well with the boss, especially when that boss is very mean and not very smart, which I had quite a few of those. Not everybody, but I had many, okay? I'm just being honest. It was frustrating to me. And I don't know if you've ever felt this way too, but like I wanted it so badly to have my own business. But for 8 freaking years, I found myself in the same predictable patterns. I was trying new things. I was trying new actions, meaning, oh, this week I'm a jewelry maker and this month I'm a drop shipper. But the thoughts and the feelings were repeated for 8 years. The thoughts and the feelings didn't change. I needed something to break that cycle, to get me to think differently, to feel differently, then to subsequently show up differently. It wasn't that like, I always thought the problem was like, oh, I just haven't found the business yet. But what I hadn't actually found were the thoughts and the feelings that would allow me to show up as a successful business owner. You feel that difference? Like it wasn't the topical business. I could have been successful at any number of those businesses if I would have had the same mindset that I had right now. I needed the thoughts and the feelings to infiltrate and to flavor, as I like to call it, those actions. It wasn't about what business was it. I could have made anything successful if I had the right thoughts and feelings. That was the piece, the key missing ingredients that I had been missing for so long. So I had to figure out a way to think differently, to feel differently, to show up differently so that I could create a different result, which in my case was a different job. And not even just a different job, but could show up successfully in that job and believe that I could. Because you can imagine when you have tried everything and nothing works, you begin to assume that the next thing won't work because you're using your past as evidence. And I work with so many clients that are caught in that cycle of using past as evidence. But guess what, people? You're going to have to believe in something new if you want to create something new. I'm working with a client just this week where I was like, we cannot use the past as evidence unless you want to create what you've already created before. And she's like, no, I don't want to create that. That's, I want something different. Okay, then we have to leave those thoughts and those feelings behind. We have to do the exact opposite if you want the exact opposite results. We have to think and feel from the future. So you cannot use your past as evidence. In fact, don't look at your past if you don't want to recreate it. You have to think and feel from the future based on what you want to experience and manifest. Right? So when I look back at all of this, I think these 6 products and services played a critical role in helping me make those big shifts, to think from the future, right? To break those cycles and those patterns along the way. They are the tools that I would say most often I recommend to my one-on-one private hypnotherapy and coaching clients. They just come up again and again. Now, there's something very important that I want to say when it comes to products or services, okay? And this is coming from someone who literally makes a living. My business that now has worked for many years now is helping people, and I sell a service, which is hypnotherapy and coaching, right? I will say there is not a single product or a single service in the self-development space that will do the work for you. Okay? Everything that I just described about thinking differently and feeling differently, that's on you. You're going to be doing that. Now, what these products and services can do is can help make that shift. I kind of think of it like, what's a good analogy? Like, imagine you had kind of this like really compact sandcastle, okay? It's like almost like concrete. You're going to have to poke at it, and you might poke at it a little bit and it might just like kind of shift a little bit and, maybe a little bit crumbles, but you're going to have to keep poking at it. And I kind of think of these products and services like the poking piece of it. And eventually the sandcastle will crumble, but it's not because of the actual product or service. It's because it got you to think and feel differently. I know many of you guys are saying like, well, duh, Brittany, we know, but do you really know this? Okay, because this is one of the biggest misconceptions, I would say, at least when it comes to hypnotherapy, that I come across. And it's the only reason I'll ever really turn down a client, other than if the client has schizophrenia or if they have a mental health issue and their doctor doesn't sign off on hypnotherapy. The only non-medical reason I would turn down a client is if I get the feeling that their idea of hypnosis or hypnotherapy is it's like some magic spell that I'm going to cast on them, because that's just not how it works. And it requires something of you. And if you're not willing to give yourself to this process, I'm going to save you time and I'm going to save me time. And I'm going to say, this isn't a good fit. Come back when you're ready, right? Because hypnosis is not a magic spell, even though it feels like it at times, even though I would say the results can feel magical. But the same principles really go for other non-hypnotic change resources too, right? What these products and services can do and why they are so very helpful is that they can poke at your thinking, right? They can help you see your life and the changes that you want to make in an entirely new way. Which that's all we're trying to do anyways, right? If you could do that yourself, you wouldn't need these 6 products or resources. But these things can help you do that. They can help ignite that spark within you. And so whenever I have a client that is profusely thanking me for the results that they got working together, oh my gosh, Brittany, thank you, thank you, thank you. Since we've worked together, this has happened and this has happened and this has happened. Or after a session that they just had, I always stop them. Okay. And I remind them and I say, hey, I appreciate it, but that is all you. Okay. I'm the conductor of the orchestra, but you are the one playing the instrument. That's the analogy I love to say. And I reiterate that every single time. So let these products and resources that I recommend to you here today to be just that. Just allow them to inspire what is actually already within you. And I know that can be so hard to believe. When you feel like you've tried everything, you probably don't think that there is change within you, but it's there. It's just like buried treasure, right? It's like that sandcastle. It's buried down deep, and these products and resources are going to help unearth it for you because it's already there. So let these products and resources be like sheet music to you, okay? Because sheet music alone, right? Just the papers with the notes on them, they have no sound. They're not inherently music. It's just paper with notes, right? But when a talented musician picks up that sheet music and desires to create beautiful music and uses that sheet music to play a song, wow, everything changes, right? But the sheet music itself is nothing without a musician who desires to use their own instrument. And so in this case, it's the instrument of your mind that you'll be using yourself. Because oftentimes when I see people say that nothing seems to work, it's because they're looking for an answer outside themselves and their own discovery. They don't believe that they have the capability to change. And so they're looking for someone else to do something for them. They've given up their own power because they don't believe in their power. And so what I'm saying here right now is you have to come to the table. It's like a potluck, okay? These products and resources, they're going to give you a whole, buffet brunch here, but you got to bring something to the potluck. And what you're bringing to the potluck is your belief that there is something within you, even if you haven't accessed it yet, that there is something within you that can change. Trust me. I wish it were possible to just snap your fingers and poof, positive change could happen. I'd be a very rich lady, okay? I'd patent that. And I would be very happy. Manifestations galore. That's what it would mean, right? But this just isn't the case. If nothing has seemed to work for you, I want you to ask yourself, am I working for me? And what I mean by that is, am I continuing to believe that it's possible? Because I would say that was the only thing I had going for me for those 8 years that I tried a million trillion businesses. Is the only thing I had going for me was this deep desire to say, I am meant to be an entrepreneur. Even though I have started many businesses and they have not done well, that doesn't negate the fact that I need to be an entrepreneur and that I'd be good at it, which is hilarious because I eventually found the business that was great. And I eventually found the thinking and the feeling that would let me be a successful business owner. And it worked. It worked beautifully. Those past failures were not actually an indicator of how successful I could or could not be. So are you approaching using the products and resources I'm going to share with you here today with an open mind? Are you open to the possibility that this time it could be different? That's what you're bringing to this potluck, okay? So, are you ready for change? This mindset is something you have to already have. It's what you're bringing to the potluck by time you want to engage with these things I'm going to share with you today. You have to fan the flames of your own desire first. Then let these supportive products and resources that I'm going to share with you here today, let them help you see your own life in a new light to help you make those changes that you're ready and now willing to make. Okay. So just to keep it spicy, right? I'm going to go in order of least transformative to most transformative. I mean, of course, if they made the top 6, they are all very transformative. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the list. But some I see shift the needle more or less than others. So let's go. Okay. Also, let me say this. I've made it super easy for you. So if you're interested in any of these resources that I suggest today, I've linked all of them in the show notes so that you can have them handy. So just add to cart and you'll transform. Boom. Done. And you have to think differently, like I just said. It's not going to do the work for you. Okay? So the first recommendation is a book, and that book is titled Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Now, I will say I have read this book multiple times, and it's just kind of mind-blowing every single time. That's been my experience, at least. Essentially, the premise is pretty clear from the title of the book, right? It's about acceptance of what is in the current present moment, okay? Where we are here right now. Because so much of why we get stuck in these patterns, so much of our own suffering is caused by pushing against or resisting what already is, by wanting things to be different than they are. Now, this kind of feels like a catch-22, right? Because you're probably thinking, well, Brittany, if I want to manifest something, then that inherently means that I want things to be different. I want to manifest a new car. That means I don't want the car that I'm currently have, right? I hear you. I understand. Here's where we need to kind of parse apart that piece of it, okay? It's the pushing against. It's that initial resistance that makes it hard for these new things to appear. It's when you give all your attention and focus to hating your current car that you're pushing against what is the car you currently drive. Okay. This can be applied to any manifestation, not just car related, right? I'm trying to remember what was going on in my life the first time I read this book. I think I had just moved to Austin, Texas. So it was during the pandemic. Oh, okay. There's a beautiful example, right? The pandemic. That's a huge one. A lot of us resisted what was during that time, right? It was hard to love the present moment during that scary time. Personally, I felt like I was wasting time. I was wasting my life. The world was paused, but my age and ambitions weren't, right? And so this book, reading it, especially during that time, really helped me. And through her process of the 4 questions, helped me accept what was in that current moment so that I could move into a place where I was empowered to move forward. So let's give the car example. If you can accept this is the car I'm driving here right now, it doesn't mean it's the car that I'm going to be driving forever, but it's the one I'm in right now, then you lessen that resistance and you can start moving to a place where you can actually manifest something better or different. Because the truth is, it's a losing game when we don't accept what is. It's a game that you're always going to lose because guess what? The present moment always wins. Don't bet against what's like the saying they say, like with casinos, like don't bet against the house, like with the universe and the present moment, like please, you just cause yourself, it's like punching yourself in the face again and again and again. You just cause yourself so much suffering when you fight what is, because what is. Doesn't mean you can't change the future, but you can't change what already is, okay? What is old, crusty manifestations. What is the result of your past thinking. And so your current thinking is going to create your future, but you have to accept what is first. When you push against what is in the present moment, you are the only one who gets burned. So this is a great book that I suggest to my clients, especially those who have anxiety. A lot of anxiety is being scared about the future or not liking what is, especially those that are exhibiting resistance to kind of certain fundamental concepts or truisms like climate change or other things that are outside one singular person's direct control. Learning to control what you can control and to let go of everything else. This is a great book for that. Those clients who have relationship issues, whether it be with a partner or a son or daughter or something else that they're working through. If they want their partner to be different, okay, this is a great book for that because guess what? You can't control other people and accepting that is really key. So accepting, which is a core component of loving what is, right? That is acceptance. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to like it, but it's about being real and honest with yourself about what is happening right now so that you're no longer in denial or pushing against it or avoiding it or causing your own suffering about it. Another life-changing book recommendation for you. It's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, I will say this. I have read many of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, okay? In fact, I'm actually attending one of his advanced retreats later this summer, so I'll give you guys all the details about how that goes. I'm very excited. I love his material. But this was the very first book of his that I read, and it was the one that I would say most sufficiently blew my mind, okay? And it's essential reading for anyone who is stuck in a rut, stuck in a pattern, a habit, a negative cycle, or a spiral, because he talks so much about how the thoughts and the feelings that you think and you feel on a daily basis, they become who you are, okay? They become your personality. And your personality then becomes, as he likes to say, your personal reality, the environment around you, what you end up manifesting. And what I love about everything he describes is it has a very neuroscientific basis, okay? There's a lot of quantum physics. There's a lot of neuroscience in the work that he does. And I geek out over that and love it. Okay. So you send out electrical impulses with your thoughts and your feelings have a magnetic charge associated to them. And when both of those work in conjunction together, they create an electromagnetic signal into the quantum field of possibility. And you literally attract and create and become the summation of your most predominant thoughts and feelings and emotions. Okay. We know this. This is the neuroscience behind manifestation. So, in order to create a different result, you have to break the habit of being yourself. You have to break the habit of those same thoughts and those same emotions you've gotten in the habit of feeling and thinking. You have to break the habit of those thoughts that you think most often and those emotions that you feel most often. I will say, I personally find the identity piece to manifestation so fascinating because it really is at the crux of everything. And I told you guys I'm going to be focusing on this more and more. I can't tell you how many manifestation issues I see with my one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching clients that stem from their self-concept, who they see themselves to be. Okay? I might have a client that says, well, Brittany, I'm an anxious person. Or, oh, I'm awkward. I'm an awkward person. Okay. And then when that issue that you want to work on, you say you're an anxious person, but you come to me to try to relieve your anxiety, that issue has now become your identity, your personality. Your brain doesn't want to let go of it. And rightfully so, right? Your brain doesn't want to let go of it because it wants to survive. So if I were to get rid of that anxiety for you, you would have no self-concept. You wouldn't even know who you would be. And that is very scary and threatening to your brain. It's not going to let go of that without a fight. Okay? It would be like losing yourself. It would feel like death to the brain. So you don't want to give up your identity as an anxious person unless you can see yourself as someone else first. And that is all the big identity work that we do together and that we focus on is saying, okay, if you want to release this anxiety, who are you without it? And how can we get the brain to really begin to feel comfortable with that self-concept and believe in her and see her and live out in the world as her? And then the anxiety just floats away, right? So that's why I find identity work to be the most important at all. You have to manifest who you want to be. And then the things and the experiences and the whatever else you're manifesting fall into place. But you have to be her. And I call her or him, right? Manifested me. You have to be your manifested me version first. And that's so much of the work that I do with my one-on-one clients about instilling and developing that manifested version of you into your subconscious mind so that you can believe in that evolved version of you first. You adopt that identity. And this book is a fantastic tool that you can do this yourself. Okay. I also recommend a lot of his accompanying meditations. Okay. Now, I will say this, they are not for the faint of heart. Okay. I just spent 48 minutes doing one, and that's like a short one. Okay. So I've heard on multiple occasions from some of my past one-on-one clients, they've said, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, but I just can't do his meditations. I feel like your hypnosis audios, Brittany, are so much better. I go deeper with them. I mean, I will say it is kind of satisfying to hear that feedback, but I will say that there's a reason for that. Okay. I'd like to kind of clarify some things before we get into that. Dr. Joe calls his work meditation. That's what he has called it, branded it as, right? Even though what he is teaching is accessing the subconscious mind, which is you access the subconscious mind through the theta brainwave state, which is the same state of hypnosis. Usually we associate meditation is a lighter brainwave state with the alpha brainwave state, and we associate hypnosis with the theta brainwave state, which is a deeper brainwave state. He's calling what is normally alpha meditation. It's mixed up. Okay. I think, and I haven't talked to him, so Dr. Joe, please tell me if I'm wrong. I think he just doesn't like the word, and I can understand why. Okay. There are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the word hypnosis. Okay. The only thing that I'm not really a fan of with his teaching and his work, and I will say this gets my fellow hypnotherapists really up in arms. If you go on like online forums, people have a lot of choice words about this. Okay. I think that rather than trying to use his platform to re-educate folks on hypnosis and trance and what can be experienced as you reprogram the subconscious mind in the theta brainwave state, rather than doing that re-education, he just goes ahead and calls it meditation, which feels a whole lot less threatening to some people. I don't know. I can't relate to that. Hypnosis has never been threatening, but I've always understood what it truly is. He calls it meditation, which is actually more associated with the alpha brainwave state, like I was saying before, which is a lighter state of consciousness. And B, on occasion, I've heard him say things like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to hypnotize you. Which I'm like, what the heck, Dr. Joe? This is a very loaded and unproductive comment where he's essentially demonizing hypnosis, but then glorifies his own meditations, which aren't actually meditations. They're deeper than that. They're actually hypnosis. So I'm confused, right? I mean, let me put it this way, okay? All of his books are required reading when you become certified in hypnotherapy, okay? He's helping you access and rewire your subconscious mind. I think he just doesn't want to make that process seem scary because for some reason, back in the 50s, there were movies about hypnosis and, people feel like they're going to lose control. And there's so many like misconceptions about hypnosis. And so I think he's just trying to subvert some of that. But I feel like it does you all a disservice when you don't understand what's really happening. And I don't like not having my clients understand what's truly happening in their brain. Like, I'm not going to lie to you about that, right? I think he's just looking to kind of subvert some of that, brand it differently. That's what I'm assuming. So I have a little bit of a bone to pick with him on that, okay? Let's not miseducate here, especially when all of his stuff is so good. But I can set that aside, right? Because what he's doing truly works, because it's hypnosis, okay? The core meditations, and when I say meditation in this context, I mean hypnosis. It's just that he calls them meditations. The core meditation that he teaches alongside with this book I'm recommending is 75 minutes long. Okay. That's a doozy. That's longer than we do in private one-on-one hypnotherapy. And that's pretty deep. But it's very powerful. If you can manage to do it and you can set aside the time, it's very powerful. I would say the only times that I've ever truly had a pure out-of-body experience, and it's happened twice to me, were both when I did this particular meditation. All right. So, okay. These last 4 product recs are really, really, really going to step it up a notch. Okay. Are you ready? Put your seatbelts on. Are you ready for this? Okay. Next one. The next one is actually not a book. It's actually an app. It's the Grace Space Hypnosis app. So Grace Smith, she's another fantastic fellow hypnotherapist who has her own app. So I discovered her app actually towards the beginning of my hypnotherapy journey. And just let me be honest, okay? Because obviously you guys can tell I'm doing that already, okay? I find several of the hypnosis audios on this app to not be particularly all that effective. But I do find a lot of value in her overall hypnosis technique. Okay. I've even adopted some of her techniques here or there into the work that I do. So the specific hypnosis audio that I am recommending here for this podcast, that is number 3, I guess, on our product recommendation list, is her audio that last time I checked, it's called Deep Sadness. They're on the app. Okay. I think that's what it's called. That audio alone is worth $20 a month or whatever she charges for the app, right? For the subscription. I credit overcoming depression largely to that particular audio, along with some other things that I did at that time. So when I think about staying stuck in cycles of thought or cycles of behavior, sometimes I'm going to recommend hypnosis audios to you because you need to borrow other people's thoughts. Right? Almost kind of like a little kid that's learning to ride a bike and uses training wheels, right? That is what hypnosis allows you to do. So you're depressed, like I was many years ago. You're not able to come up with those happy thoughts by yourself. But I can, or your hypnotherapist can, right? And all you have to do is listen and be open and willing to change. So when I was depressed all those years ago, this audio, I mean, gosh, every morning and every evening I'd listen to it. It just felt like a lifeline. It just felt like for 20 minutes, I got some relief in my brain. It felt like a life jacket. I didn't know how to swim, but this audio kept me afloat anyways. And I repeated those thoughts until they became memorized, until they became my own, until I learned how to swim, or rather to think, right, on my own. Heck, I'll even occasionally go back to this audio and listen to this audio because it reminds me of what I overcame in my life and how I did it. It reminds me of the power of all this, why I got into this field to begin with. Number 4. All right. This is another book rec, but it is my favorite. That came out really weird. Favorite manifestation book of all time. Okay. I read this book a minimum once a year. Required reading for the Brittany Hoopes. So I've read it like a dozen times by now. It's called Ask and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks, which is technically Esther and Jerry Hicks. I'm not going to explain why that's the case, okay? You can discover that for yourself. But this is like the gold standard in introductory manifestation at its finest. I would say even advanced too, because there's so much to rediscover through this text. And so what I especially love about this book is that the first half of the book talks all about manifestation, how it works. And then the second half of the book is a series of over 20 exercises that you can apply to your life so that you can manifest your dreams. It's very actionable, which I love. And the exercises, it's so brilliant. They're sorted by level of resistance, okay? And where they're sorted by where you land on what they call the emotional scale. So if you're already feeling really happy and you don't have very much resistance, you're going to do different exercises than if you were feeling super depressed and hopeless. There'd be other exercises you would need to do. And so that's very helpful, I think, in this instance, right? Because if you feel like you've tried everything and nothing seems to work, just start out at the easiest or lowest level, and then you can work your way up if needed, right? Remember how we talked about poking the sandcastle until it crumbles? That's kind of like what these exercises will allow you to do, because you've got that big old thick sandcastle of resistance that's keeping this positive change from entering your life. And so you're going to have to chip away at it. And that's probably why the other things that you've tried haven't seemed like they worked in the past, because they probably weren't designed to release the amount of resistance that you do have on that subject. It maybe just got a little bit of it gone, but then you're like, wait, where's the manifestation? You can't see that it actually helped you, just not all the way. So implementing 1, 2, 3, heck, even all of these exercises will help you chip away at that resistance. I have manifested insane things doing these exercises. Like, as I tell the story, I'm like, why don't I do this every month? I actually am going to start. Okay, note to self, Brittany, start doing this every month. There's one exercise. It has to do with money. I think it's like where you spend $1,000 a day in your mind. And it kind of gets harder and harder to spend that money. You wouldn't think it would be. You're just doing it in your mind, because the first day you get $1,000, then the next day you get $2,000, the next day you get $3,000. You get the idea, right? And so by the end of the month, you're fake spending all this money in your mind. And I kid you not, the first time I did this exercise, like in my mid-20s, right when I got out of college, I received $30,000 out of the blue at the very end of that month that I did the exercise. Like, it was insane. It was so magical and like the coolest way possible. So if you enjoy manifestation exercises, and I'm not talking about those little journaling 3x5x8, whatever process you saw on TikTok, right? I'm talking about the real deal. I'm also going to give you one little other bonus recommendation if you're into that, okay? It's another book called E Squared by Pam Grout. I actually emailed her one time and she answered me back. So I like Pam. That's a great manifestation exercise book too. Okay. But nothing replaces Ask and It Is Given. Like that's the, if manifestation were a religion, that's the Bible, in my opinion. It's not, but that's what I would say. Okay. Or really any of Abraham Hicks' work. Okay. I love typing in Abraham Hicks just into YouTube and listening to some of their audios from their past conferences. Okay. So they've been on the road doing these conferences for like 40 years. Like, it's crazy. I've been to like 6 of their conferences in the past, and they are spectacular. The energy in the room at an Abraham Hicks conference is just like, it's palatable. Like, it is so uplifting. I really, truly hope that you get a chance to feel that kind of energy, because I don't think it's possible to describe what it feels like to be in a room with hundreds of people who have gathered together for the express purpose of joy and manifesting. Like, it is like the best energy. I just like soak it in whenever I'm there. I love it. Definitely explore Abraham Hicks for sure. All right, number 5. So this is a little bit of a different recommendation than all the others, I'll say. It's not a book. It's not an audio. It's not a service or anything. It's a jar and some marbles or rocks. You're probably thinking, now, Brittany, you have lost your marbles here, okay? Why in the world would I recommend a jar with some marbles or rocks to help you make positive changes in your life? It's because so many of those positive changes will come as a result of repetition. Because it's a failure to repeat uncomfortable or new actions or behaviors, or even to tolerate certain emotions, that keeps you stuck repeating the same patterns and habits. So we need to shake that up. We need to change that, right? We need to build new habits of thought and of mind. So I often recommend to my clients to buy a big old jar and to find some pretty sparkly rocks or marbles. Just go to the craft section at any, store. And then I want you to identify what would be the one action, if you took that action repeatedly, okay, that would change your life for the better. Whatever positive changes you want to make, what is the action that you need to do again and again and again and again to create that? Maybe you finally want to take your health and your fitness seriously, okay? And that means that you're going to have to give up sugar, or you'll have to start working out consistently, okay? I have lots of clients that have that as a goal. So maybe you decide that your jar is going to be your sugar jar or your workout jar. And each time you pass up on sugar, meaning each time you would have eaten that ice cream, but you said, no, I don't eat sugar anymore, you put a rock in that jar. Or each time you do a workout, you put a marble in the jar, okay? Because here's the kicker. You will be a completely different person by the time that you fill that jar all the way full. Guaranteed. Your body composition will have changed. Your taste buds will have changed. The thoughts and the feelings that you think every single day will have changed. It's amazing. It does it for you, this repetition, and it motivates you along the way. So you could even make, and this is kind of a spin on the jar exercise, but you could even make the jar be a feeling jar, meaning that you assign it an emotion. Do you know how often we don't take action because we're scared of feeling a particular emotion? Maybe we're scared of being embarrassed, or we're scared of disappointment, or we're scared of any sort of other emotion. And so we don't take action, right? So if you're ambitious and you crave success, but you're scared of feeling uncomfortable, how many times do you think you'll keep yourself in your safe comfort zone when your success actually requires you to step out of that? What if you made yourself a comfort zone jar? Okay, so each time you have that thought, oh, I don't want to do this, this is outside my comfort zone, and you intentionally step outside your comfort zone anyways, you put a marble in that jar. And I can tell you, by the time you fill up that jar, you'll have gotten so used to stepping outside your comfort zone and into opportunity for success. And I bet you will have seen some success along the way. For a while the jar is barely full, you might be a little scared. But over time, you train your brain to no longer let that stop you, okay? You'll have trained your brain to no longer be scared of a feeling, because a feeling is just a sensation within your body. That's all it is, because our emotions flavor and fuel our actions. And so if you can get to a place where your emotions no longer stop you from taking those necessary actions, things will change for you. Now, you might say, Brittany, it's a jar with some rocks, okay? But let me tell you, this is a powerful tool for retraining your mind and building the skills and tolerance to become who you want to be. Okay, my final recommendation, the most important one of all, the most transformative of all. Are you ready? It's also the one that requires the most of you, though. So be prepared. Put your big girl pants on, all right? It's personalized one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching. Now, I am guessing all of you guys know that I was going to say that, right? It's so important to making positive changes. It's so important that I've literally dedicated my life to it. That's how important it is, okay? And I can speak on its transformative effect for multiple reasons. One, I am a hypnotherapist and coach. I've seen that transformation every single day with my clients. I live it every single day with them. And two, I've worked with my own one-on-one hypnotherapists and coaches over the years, and I've received support that has literally changed my life in so many big, beautiful ways. So if you feel like you have tried everything, but nothing seems to work, I would question if you've been having the right support. Okay? And by right, I mean, was the support for you? Okay? With social media and all the amazing resources that we just have at our fingertips, there can be a lot of self-diagnosing going on, which, hey, I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm never going to be the one that says that you shouldn't explore your own options. I think that's great. But a lot of these resources, because they're written or they're designed for the masses, even a podcast like this, or a book you read, or a TikTok or Instagram reel you see, right? They're designed for the masses. They're designed for multiple people. They're designed for views and sales and engagement and all these things, right? That's their measurement of success, not necessarily if you see change. For example, if you watch a TikTok about how to ease your anxiety, in 20 seconds, it's going to give you a little bite-sized tidbit, little exercise to do. And that's not typically what transforms a person, right? The anxiety doesn't just go away in 20 seconds after a reel. Transformation requires brain training. And to train your brain, you have to practice. You have to show up. There's repetition. There's movement. And in fact, that movement sometimes takes a while. I mean, think about an athlete who trains. They can't just read a book and be a master athlete. They can't just, watch a TikTok and be a master athlete. They have to train, and they usually have a coach. Because if it happened instantly to you, and a lot of people think, oh, Brittany, I just want this instant change, right? But let me paint the picture for you. Let's just pretend that this positive change just happened instantly for you. That would be very jarring to your body and your mind, okay? An instant change to the body or the mind is interpreted as trauma. That's what trauma is. You get hit over the head. That's traumatic. It's instant and traumatic to your head, right? Same internally. We don't want to make these 0 to 60 instant changes. We want to be able to train ourselves so that we can handle the change along the way. So instead, when we make positive changes, we have to show up for ourselves and keep showing up for ourselves. And that's why one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching, working with a hypnotherapist, working with a coach is so valuable because you have someone who can guide you through that process. Someone who has the map, can show you the way through it, who can recommend what you need. I mean, it truly is life-changing. Whereas TikTok's measurements for success is your engagement. A hypnotherapist's measurement for your success is your ability to positively change. If you change in the ways that you want to change, that's success. If you don't, that's failure. It's your results. And I personally would much rather have some skin in the game. I personally much rather want to do something where the measurement of success is my own success. And that means that person sticks with you. They learn the language of your subconscious mind. And therefore, you're getting the support that you uniquely need. I'll give you an example. I have clients who can visualize in crisp detail, okay? They tend to be my creative, artistic leaning clients, right? And I have other clients who can't visualize a thing. So the sessions that I have with those two particular individuals are going to be wildly different based on their needs and what I call the language of their subconscious minds, the way they process things. And so when it comes to the subconscious, there are often blocks or fears that we're not consciously aware of. That's why they're subconscious, meaning beneath your conscious awareness. And it's only through personalized one-on-one work that we can uncover them and we can set them free. I think back to this transformative one-on-one session that I had at the beginning of my business. And I can't remember if I told this story before on the podcast, but that session caught me so by surprise. I really couldn't believe it. I'll never forget the session as long as I ever live because it changed the whole trajectory of my life. I had no clue that there was this old fear, this old memory of mine, this old pattern that was impacting my belief in my business in this way. I had zero conscious awareness of it. It was completely subconscious, but that pattern was running everything. And honestly, looking back on it, I think probably that pattern was why I had tried. Oh, wow. I'm like realizing this right now in real time. I'm realizing that pattern is probably the reason why all those businesses had failed before. That pattern was running my thinking and my emotions and resulted in all those failed businesses. And then once I shift that pattern subconsciously, that's when I had success with my business now. Whoa, that's crazy. Okay. Once I became conscious of it, I healed it. I had a flourishing business. I finally, after trying everything, shifted. It's amazing how our minds work. It's like they're a spider web of interconnected information. And sometimes we need someone who knows how to navigate the labyrinth to help us become who we want to be and what positive changes we want to make. And then when you work with a hypnotherapist and coach, they'll most likely give you a personalized hypnosis audio that you can use to practice in between sessions to continue with that brain training. So for example, in my programs, with each of my program clients, so those are my clients who sign up for my 6-session programs, because again, you're going to get the best results when you commit to yourself in this work, when you do the repetition required. One session typically isn't going to cut it, not for big changes at least. I give each of my program clients a custom hypnosis audio to keep. So each of these audios, I would say, take me about 2.5 hours to create. It's kind of like it's a big chunk of time because I write them from scratch. Like you'd never be able to share your audio with anyone else in the world because it wouldn't make sense to them. It wouldn't apply to them, right? It's only for you and for your positive changes that you want to make. I also give each client, whether you do 1 session with me or 6 sessions, a quick little self-hypnosis audio recording that's about 10 minutes long. It's a great daily practice. And it's customizable in the fact that you bring to it whatever you want to work on. So I can tell you, this guy, it's short, but that puppy is powerful, okay? It's mighty. And if you can train your brain 10 minutes every day, you see those cumulative effects. In fact, it was this exact audio that I use every single day to manifest getting on Big Brother. My affirmation that I use with the audio, of course, you can use your own, was, I'm a house guest on Big Brother 24. And then I visualized it until it felt real. I lived in that inner world first so that I could move energy to matter and have it become my outer reality. And it did, because that's how this stuff works. Okay. So this is what we do with hypnosis. This is the work. And I love when I see my clients have success, specifically with that recording, because it's like, it holds a special place in my heart. Like I feel like they've joined the club of that recording and how powerful it is. I love when they have success with it too. So at the end of the day, nothing replaces one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching. It cuts out the noise, all the wondering, and it just gives you the essentials that apply specifically to you. It's a tour guide to your subconscious mind. And the results really do speak for themselves. I can't speak for all hypnotherapists and coach, obviously, because I'm not them. I'm only me. But if you're curious about the kind of results my clients have received from this work, just go to the link in the show notes. I have hundreds of testimonials of people showing how their lives have changed since doing this work with me. Okay. It's just incredible. And I will tell you this, I haven't even really updated that site in at least a year. I have like hundreds more that I could add to them too, which I should probably put on my to-do list and do. Okay. It's insane. The proof is in the pudding. So that's it. Those are my top 6 very favorite products and resources that truly can change your life for the better. So I made it super easy for you. I've linked all of them in the show notes for this episode. Seriously, go there, add to cart, change your life. Could it be any more simple? I love it. So thank you, travelers, for joining us here today on this journey towards destination manifestation. You're amazing. And I can't wait to see the positive changes that you finally make in your life. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to this podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you've gotten some new ideas on how you can make those positive changes that you've been craving for so long, you're in luck. Because guess what? There is so much more from where that came from, okay? I shared with you today just 6 must-have products and resources. What if I told you I had a list of 60 plus more, okay? I know that sounds insane. I'm a little insane. That's right. So when I work with my private hypnotherapy and coaching clients, part of what just sort of naturally happens during a session is I'll think of the perfect book or the perfect podcast or a resource that would really help them based on what they're telling me, right? And so this began to happen so often, right, that I started coming up with a list of my go-to resources so that I could send them those links just on the fly so that they have it. I'd add it to their dashboard because each one of my clients get a personalized dashboard. I'd say, hey, check your dashboard. There's a link. This book would really help you, right? So then one day I had this idea. I was like, this is like a gold mine of a list. Like, this is an amazing list. I've curated this list over 16 years. Like, what if I shared this list of resources with people for free? And so I fancied it up a little bit, right? I made it look presentable. I turned it into a resource that you can download. So it's filled with resources just like I shared today, sorted by topic or by issue that you might be experiencing. So if you're feeling anxious, boom, got resources for that. You're new to manifestation? Great. Go to that section. you have a big long-term goal you want to tackle, here's exactly what you need, right? The list has over 60 resources, so there truly is something for everyone. So download it. The link is in the show notes as well. Give it a look through. And if there's any resource that you personally love, but you realize is missing from that list, shoot me a message, a DM over on Instagram. You can find me at Britt.Hoopes and let me know, because there might be a really good chance that it maybe didn't resonate with me, which is why I left it off. Or there's a good chance that I just simply haven't come across it yet, in which case I would love to learn about it. So be sure to share. All music for this podcast is by A Cubed. And remember, if you feel like you have tried everything, you probably haven't tried all 6 of these resources, okay? Try them. Give them a go. Chip away at that layer of resistance. Poke at the sandcastle there until it crumbles. And feel the freedom that comes with allowing yourself to change for the better. I'm rooting you on. Until next time.
I don't know.